Hello, my name is Don Cole. I was John Kaplan's partner and husband for 44 years, and am now the president of the John Kaplan Legacy Fund. John loved theater. He wrote for Now magazine for over 33 years. He was an outspoken advocate for more diversity in Canadian theater, and he brought about much-needed change through his voice. It was John's wish that upon his death, a fund be established to support Toronto theatre makers. In 2018, the John Kaplan Legacy Fund was established to continue his work. Here are just a few examples of what John and the fund have meant to the Canadian theatre community.
John's legacy in the Canadian theatre community is one of championing its artists, especially its young artists. He used his platforms to bring attention to up-and-comers and to foster really valuable connections within the community.
Now more than ever, I often look at what is happening in the theater community and in certain practices, and I think to myself, what would John think? What would John do? What would John say? Because again, his feedback and his desire was always to make things better, to support.
I think the biggest gift that John gave me was making me feel seen and heard as a young artist and encouraged.
For me, receiving the Legacy Fund Award means that someone is willing to trust and take a chance on young artists. I'm so grateful to the fund and John for believing in me.
When John was there, I felt like I was part of a community. I felt like if he was a part of it, it was worth being a part of. And that's the legacy that I take with me since he's gone.
Receiving the John Kaplan Legacy Fund Award for a young Canadian playwright was such a moment of affirmation for me in a time that I most needed it. I received the award for the first year of the pandemic when I had lost all of my work and it felt more unsustainable than ever to continue a career in the arts. And the award came and the email was such a moment of joy, and it was the first time I could breathe in the pandemic and feel like a future in the arts would be okay.
My mind boggles when I think of the number of artists who could easily directly link the fact that they are still making theater, or even that they started making theater, to the notice that John gave them, to the fact that he let them know that he saw them, he heard them, and he valued what they had to say.
Receiving the John Kaplan Legacy Fund Award was such a lifeline in such a year of crisis. I'm sure you all know what happened. Getting that in that time was so invaluable to me. It also felt like acknowledgement. John was the heartbeat of the Toronto theatre community, so to get an award in his name felt like a welcoming from that community.
Receiving a John Kaplan Legacy Fund Award offered me a much-needed confidence boost, and it also allowed me to afford some dedicated time to focus in on my writing.
I think that because of John, there are generations probably of young theater artists who continued, who braved this theater industry, this craft, this practice, because he made them feel seen and heard at a young age. He said, I see you. I think you have something important to say, and I want to hear it.
I believe John's legacy is a reminder that we have to stick together and look after one another. We are so much stronger together.
His legacy is that we have to care. We have to care about each other. We have to care about the art that we're a part of. We have to say hello to each other. We have to ask tough questions. We have to support emerging artists. I mean, that's a huge legacy. And he really imbued those values into me and into so many people here in Toronto and probably across the country.
John's legacy for the Canadian theatre community is a legacy of care, kindness, and generosity. Even now I hear so many stories of how John would be there at their first show, speaking to them after the performances, or how he's interviewing folks and clacking along on a typewriter. But to watch out for each other, to care for each other, and to watch with love.
I think that even in the roughest times, having met him and having benefited from his thumbs up, the feeling that his hand was on my lower back in the rough times, I know that I was able to keep going and keep believing in the work I was trying to do.
John Kaplan's legacy is community. John Kaplan's legacy is about showing up for each other and being kind.
John was light. He radiated, and he could point his light on you in the most generous way.
John was one of the most beautiful people I've ever met.
Over the past years, we have given thousands of dollars to artists through our annual awards, the Toronto Fringe, and also by supporting local theatre companies. We're very thankful to everyone who has donated to the fund and to the artists who have applied either for themselves or fellow artists for one of our awards.
I donate to remind myself of the best that we can be, because John really was the best. And honoring his legacy means holding myself up to that standard and our community.
Donating to the John Kaplan Legacy Fund means continuing in a very tangible way his life's work, which was encouragement.
To me, as a donor, it excites me to be able to give back. John was very, very supportive to many theater projects, theater companies, theater works. It's also a way to, again, support and prop up the young emerging people that are coming into this practice.
To donate to the John Kaplan Legacy Fund would be to donate to the next generation of ambitious, mischievous, experimental theater makers. You would be supporting them in a time that they need that extra step or that extra support towards their pathway to this gigantic, massive, complex theater community.
Someone should donate to the John Kaplan Legacy Fund because they're giving to young, up-and-coming artists who are creating bold, brilliant, vibrant work in our community. What more do you want?
You can help us support Toronto theatre makers and honor John's memory by visiting our website, johnkaplanfund.com, and making a donation. Thank you.